the dwelling place of our authenticity. So many of you know that we have our bookmark, and our theme of the year is being your authentic and true self. Now, the dwelling place of our authenticity was really supposed to be my June lesson, but I ended up with COVID and Reverend Andy stepped in. So I get a chance to use the dwelling place of our authenticity today. But I have to tell you, I'm in such alignment that inspiration just keeps popping everywhere. And I'm not even sure I'm going to end up saying what I planned. And then I said to myself, well, I will speak again, so maybe there's going to be a dwelling place of our authenticity part 2. First, let's begin with the dwelling place. Where is your authenticity, your true self?
In my mustache.
In your mustache. There's a couple ways to approach this dwelling place. The first being, for many of you that were parents, did you ever blurt out to your kids something that you didn't like as a kid and that you didn't really anticipate you'd say? Why do I have to do this? Because I said so. Ooh. And you realize that's not authentically what you really wanted, what your intention was. But we have been programmed, we've been conditioned, we have things in our subconscious that our parents told us or our caregivers told us when we were younger. And when you're younger, you don't typically argue with your parents. My son was very good at it, and when I said, because I said so, he said, well, who put parents in charge? Yeah, he was very smart, beyond his years. And, so I realized, hey, that's not really in alignment with who I am and who I want to be. Now, I use that example because the dwelling place then is not really in your mind per se, in other words, your thinking mind. It's really in your heart, because I recognized there that I was out of alignment. And I'm sure that still happens with all of you and myself each day. As we're living our lives and we're expressing ourselves, there are times where we're like, yeah, that really nailed who I am. That really represents who I am. And other times where it was like, I'm finding my way. So therefore, I would say the dwelling place is in your heart and in your consciousness from the perspective of the wholeness of consciousness. I don't, when I speak, like to use the word mind a lot, because then we start thinking about the thinking aspect of our brain. But consciousness is our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and all that has been absorbed throughout our lifetime, the experiences that we've had. And we may not be conscious to the beliefs or to things that we were conditioned by as we grew up. And many times as we develop ourselves in our own spiritual relationship, we learn there are things that we need to let go of because it is not the truth of us. So the dwelling place is really an alignment between the heart, the truth of who you are, and then your mind expressing that. Now you may think, hey, I know myself. I know what I like to eat. I know the colors. I know what I like to do. But the truth is we are not fixed. Do you like food now that you didn't like while you were a kid? Do you find you like new things rather than you've tired maybe some old things out for a while? When you're acting from your true authenticity, you will not always get the same answers or reflections. Why is that? Life is always moving, growing, evolving, and changing. Always. So, authenticity, who are you really? Well, in society, we start labeling by race and gender and roles but those are really labels. not authentically who you are. Now, in order to understand the world, your mind labels, categorizes, judges, looks at differences. I mean, when you think about a little kid, you know, they aren't born with the knowing that we know because we've begun creating structures of our thought and, again, labeling and categorizing. And then our ego gets involved, and what does our ego want to do? Know it all, control it all, be in charge. But the truth is, are you controlling your breathing? You can become conscious of your breathing, but you've been breathing a lot without consciously being aware of it. Do you worry about where the next breath of air is going to come from? The stars are hanging in the universe. The earth goes around the sun. Are we in control of that? Of course we're not. There is something greater, something bigger. And that's beyond the ego. And the ego wants to try to understand all of that. But the understanding of all of that is really beyond our time, space, dimension that we live in. So we use labels in society, but authentically, just say with me, I am. I am. Do you know that you are? Of course you do. That's the authenticity of you. I am. Period. The authentic self is felt and expressed through when we are conscious and aware, aligning ourselves with the depth of who we are and moving through us into our thoughts, our actions, our behaviors. Now, in order to become enlightened, there's a spectrum, and we're all in progress to actualize our authentic self. So if we were enlightened, we'd be in perfect alignment with our authentic self, the expression of who we are, and at the deepest level at all times. Remembering that who we are is not fixed just because we had an answer before of what we liked. Doesn't mean in this moment that that's what we like or how we're going to act based on the situation. So how do we progress in that alignment? That's what I think spiritual practice and spiritual development is all about. Practicing our connection with our higher self, staying in tune with and being conscious of our higher self, and then expressing who we each are, which means embodying your uniqueness, because you all have a gift to bring and it's not the same gift. And I want to make sure that we talk about celebrating diversity, since it is Pride Month, from the perspective of how boring would the world be if we only had one piece of food to eat, one type of food, only one type of tree, one type of flower. The beauty of humanity, the beauty of the earth is in its diversity. And it is all one. Now, in today's society, we have lots of labels. Racism, bigotry, homophobic, especially transphobic right now. Why? We fear the differences. Perfect. We fear one another. We fear those differences, not understanding the true oneness. Now, I have a graphic that I'm going to ask Scarlett to put up. And this graphic, to me, is a visual demonstration of how can you talk about oneness And yet there's all this diversity. People may think it's contradictory. You have sunlight on the left, and it doesn't even have to be sunlight. It's any beam of light. And you put it through a prism. What do you get? The rainbow. And even beyond the rainbow, we can't see the ultraviolet light. And there's one other, infrared. We don't see the ultraviolet or the infrared, but there is frequencies of light. So on the left is our wholeness. And that white light is made up of all that diversity of color, of frequency. Now, does it fight itself? It just expresses, I am. Now, my life experiences with separation, I'm going to share here, I've shared some of these stories before, is my mom wanted a girl as her first baby. No, I'm sorry, she wanted a boy. She got a girl, me, but I was not a frou-frou girl. I was a tomboy. So she'll tell you, and I don't remember what age she said, she goes, oh, from a very young age, you just fought wearing dresses. I didn't like carrying a purse. I can't tell you how many I lost. I didn't like wearing makeup. I don't like fingernail polish. These are just things that I don't like. I'm just a person who doesn't like those things. But as a tom girl, loved wearing pants, loved being in nature. I had trees in my yard that I was always climbing. I loved riding bikes. I loved being in nature. And then, I rode my bike about age 9 to the, little Safe Mart down from where my house is. And they said, are you a boy or a girl? And I'm thinking, why does it matter? Why does it matter? If I say I'm a girl, what are you going to think? And if I say I'm a boy, what are you going to think? Do we think we have labels, stereotypes attached to that? And no matter how you see yourself gender-wise, I know that we can tell stories, whether you're male, female, or non-gender. I know you can tell stories of where you maybe have been put into a box or labeled just based on a gender role. I want to share with you, checking in with my authenticity today started with a business card. What? So at the university, I'm reporting to a new organization. So the person, there's a list of things I need to do to be a part of the organization. One of them was get a new business card. And so I gave the person my information via email, and they replied back, what pronouns do you want? Now, at the university, there is a lot of expression of pronouns. And we've talked about it a lot. People, and when they're in Zoom, email signatures. But I never personally had questioned myself, especially on a business card that goes to strangers and people I meet. Now, of course, being 60 plus years old, I didn't have a choice. It was she and her. So of course I'm now identified by she and her, but the question popped up. So in my authenticity, I had to ask myself, what do I want to say? And of course, those of you who know me, I've typically been androgynous. And so it was like, wow, I want to do more research about what this really means, because while I've recognized others and honored others based on their pronouns, I hadn't questioned myself. And I said, okay, I think she fits, but this they thing, I don't really feel like I'm two people, and they is usually plural. So what does that really mean? And I'm telling you, look this up. Why not? Look it up. And I realized, and I'm getting goosebumps, The they, thanks to Reverend Connie and I having a discussion about this, the they is not so much about pluralism, it's about I don't want to have a gender her or him. Why? Because of those stereotypes. Because then you're seeing me through a lens that is not fully knowing me. And I have to say, in my life, I have said many times, I don't like to tell people I'm gay up front. I like them to get to know me. Who is Kathy? How does she express? What is she like? How do I engage with her? And then I'm more than happy to be open about the fact that I'm gay. But I don't want the label first. That's what the world is trying to say right now. I don't care whether we're talking about transgender, non-identified gender, race, you name it. Don't label me. See me. Really see me as an individual, as a person, and know me fully as I am without those labels. I know that's true for all of you too, even if you don't identify as LGBTQ, etc., right? There are things that I'm sure you've experienced where you don't fully know me, but you have labeled me. Another example of that is at work at one point I had a gentleman, well, I'd like to say a guy because I'm not sure it was a gentleman, said to me, you're sure aggressive. And I said, do you mean assertive? Ah, you don't like strong women. I get it. Right? And I don't fault that person. I don't know where or how they were raised. But by default, we go back to the subconscious. Wherever or however they were raised, there was not equanimity. Right? And every time that contrast comes into, I give thanks for the contrast in a greater understanding and a greater knowing. And I believe that our society is evolving, hopefully not evolving to further hate those differences or really fear those differences. I mean, the anger, below anger is usually fear, right? But hopefully the consciousness that is arising is moving to our authenticity of who we each are without the labels. So don't identify me by gender, see me as I am. Here we come back to the I am. I exist. I express. I am life. I am. And when you meditate on that, I know that meditation requires practice, but if you're willing to practice and continue to practice, you will find more and more of your authentic self. Because the layers start getting peeled away. All right, I'm preparing to show this video. This video is from Britain's Got Talent. Everybody's familiar with America's Got Talent. Britain has Britain's Got Talent. So I will say in advance, of course, there's a British accent. So sometimes it's a little bit like, what did they just say? So I want to make sure it's loud enough. And so then I want to say to the online group, we will put the link, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, we're going to put the link of this video. This video is 8 minutes. It's the other half of my lesson. And then I will say some things when we come back. But for those online, we will go offline, ask you to look at the video, and then come back to the stream. Do I have anything more to say? Nope. I think I'll just let it play.